I'm here, so
I'm Shea Goodson.
Good evening and welcome to episode of Down to Dunk. I am Luke, joined this evening with Jay.
It's just Jay. And
L-Man and Jay.
L-Man and Jay, like I said on Twitter, is one of the most, maybe the most unique combination of podcasters that have
We've never
done.
seen it before.
We've never seen it before. But Andrew's sick. Taylor had kind of I don't think it was an emergency per se, but it was something that pulled him away, and Alex lost power, some friend of his, and so here's what you get is you get the L-Man and Jay. And so
That's right.
we've already
That's right.
Did you get to watch any of the game tonight?
I watched the whole game.
Yeah. So the Thunder ended up winning 134 to 129 over the Utah Jazz. Great game. Entertaining. Probably one of the first quarter was, some of the best basketball I've seen Oklahoma City play in a very long time. Huge highlights of this. I think Cason Wallace hit some substantial threes, especially there towards the end of the game. J-Dub was absolutely incredible. 27 points. 8 assists, 3 rebounds. He was 4 or 5 from the three-point line, 11 from 14 from the field overall. Shea was 8 of 15, so still shooting pretty well. He had 17 free throws, made 15 of them, ended up with 31 points. And I thought Giddey was good as well tonight, 8 of 16 from the field, 3 of 3 from the free throw line, 1 of 5 from 3, which is obviously not ideal, about 20%, but he ended up with 20 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. And so overall, good game from those guys. Chet was a little bit off. I don't know, man. He looks, out of all the guys, I think Shea looks a little bit injured and Chet looks a little bit tired. And so what are you thinking, man? What did you any overall thoughts?
It is his first NBA season, so he's not used to playing like this. You have to remember that. And then it was just crazy in that game. It felt like in the fourth quarter, it felt like there was not a missed shot between both teams. Like it was wild, and it was we were just making them, and they were come down. Like we would have this long possession and make it do a lot of passing, make a great shot, and then Colin Sexton would just come down and just jam it straight down our throats every
yeah.
Colin
Sexton was special tonight. He ended up with 31 points.
Yeah, but it would be we'd have this long full shot clock possession, and they'd have a 3-second possession, and then it'd be back to us. And it was just very interesting, but both teams were playing out of their minds. I felt like it was very, very good game.
Yeah, and the Jazz have been playing really well as of late. If not the hottest team in the NBA, they're one of the hottest team in the NBA, and they've kind of figured out how to play. And their lineup is unique. They really don't play a traditional center at the in their starting lineup. They have John Collins, who plays center, and then Lauri Markkanen brings a lot of size, obviously, to that. And so, but the Thunder, one of the things I thought was the most encouraging from tonight's game is there were a few moments where the Jazz went into the zone, which has historically been the offense killer for the Thunder, and they really attacked it well, especially in that first half. But they attacked it well, doing a lot of action at the high post, moving Chet there. They even tried to put Shea there for a little bit when they're trying to double team a little bit, and Giddey can play that position. And then obviously maybe becoming my favorite player for the Thunder, Vasa it feels like just the right guy to help kind of move the ball around enough for a zone not to work very effectively.
Is he really your favorite player?
Dude, I love him.
Really?
Not really. He's, Shea and Chet and,
J-Dub,
obviously.
J-Dub is my favorite player. He's phenomenal. I think he's so great.
Well, his personality is pretty incredible, but what he's doing game after game is pretty special, and it feels like in the Thunder fan base, we obviously are aware of, especially that fourth quarter run. He had it again tonight, scoring the ball well, distributing well. He is just he's fantastic. Like special level of player in the NBA, and
Yeah.
watch them play together with Shea and Dub having this kind of ability to, if one doesn't necessarily have it, the other can take it. I don't know. It's been pretty awesome to watch his kind of rise especially over the last couple weeks. It feels like
It's so great because like Shea takes so much defensive attention that like it seems like teams forget about J-Dub so often, and he's great, man. I think he's very, very fun to watch. That I'm still very, very high on this team. We're great.
yeah, and we had a user in the
Go ahead.
well, I was just saying we have a user in the chat that asked if he missed the game in live time. Should he rewatch the whole game or just watch the highlights?
I think it's a fun one to watch. I think it'd be fun.
I think I would rewatch it.
Yeah, I would watch it if I had the time and just was sitting there, nothing else to do. I would do it. Last week we were talking about like, oh, who could the Thunder trade for? All these things, and it's like, I think I came away from that conversation after thinking about it. Like, I don't think we need to trade anybody. We're like, what we have right now is so good, and you don't want to mess up that chemistry that we have, and throwing a new person in there, I'm afraid would.
Yeah, I think that's why and it was hard because really Andrew kind of went through the same practice with us on Friday, McKelly on Monday, and then Alex on Wednesday, in different kind of ways of doing it. And one of the things is obviously if there was a trade available to get Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson from from the Nets, that's something you would really have to think about. But you're right, that is a dynamic shifter for the team, and probably for the positive. Both of them are good shooters. In theory, Bridges is one of those guys that is could be when he was in Phoenix, he was the quintessential 3-and-D guy, and if he could get back to that, I do think I agree with Alex's take on Wednesday where he talked about getting him out of that primary ball handler role would be something where he could maybe turn back into who he was. And I actually had somebody that asked the question, and I'm not enough of I don't know how they could figure out getting both Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson in a trade. I feel like they would have to give a lot for that, including guys, and you'd have to make the decision. Is to add Cam and Mikal, that's a bad mistake, but to add them, would it be worth losing Cason Wallace, Giddey, and 3 or 4 firsts? I don't know. I think what Andrew says is probably where I align, where I think Sam and the organization really just kind of want to see what this team looks like in the playoffs and then make adjustments. But I don't know. And somebody asked that question about both of those guys, and I probably agree with somebody in the comment section. It was Ricky Mickey had mentioned that there's not really a need for both of them, and I agree with that. But just responding to whose question was this? Andrew Germaland. So, but
are you watching the post-game press conference right now?
No,
you're not.
I'm on a podcast with you. Huh?
Oh, I have it just on the back. I'm looking at it. The OKC logo they're using looks wrong. It's not one I think I've ever seen before. Is that? It's so.
Well, it looks. Show us the video, man. Turn your camera around.
It's right here.
See, this is why it's worth you subscribing on YouTube. No, I mean that's relatively standard. It's just got a little bit 3D to it.
It looks ugly. I don't like it. But
oh man, I got a quick question. So it is if you're in Oklahoma City, you're aware of this, but if not, then you just have to deal with it for a second. But it is a incredible
blustery.
blustery evening
Blustery.
here in Oklahoma City. Is your building swaying?
No, you can hear it. I can hear it at least, like just a little bit of because a little bit of wind gets in, so there's like a little bit of a whistle, but it's not creaking too bad. But if you think about it too much, it's kind of scary. What?
So did you get to watch? And I've just got a few thoughts on the LA games. Did you get to watch any of the earlier games this week? I know they were late.
I did. I watched the Clippers game, and I don't think I watched the other game, but I might have. It was a long week.
Yeah, it was. That's my first thought is how late games just threw my entire week off.
Yeah, because I finished I think it was the Clippers game, and it was like midnight. I was like, I gotta go to bed. But
yeah.
But
well, kind of the only reason I bring it up is I think as I was watching both of those games and the Jazz games, it's the Thunder's evolution, and I know this is like speaking about something that is very much should be understood, but you've seen the evolution of this team just in this season from being in particular the last few seasons. Like the Lakers and the Clippers, they really, really wanted that win against the Thunder. And that Lakers game is the one that the Clippers game was just a shootout. It was incredible. And Paul George went Nova towards the end.
Yeah.
The Lakers game was the game that you could feel that the Thunder just weren't the best version of themselves that evening. And that's a game that, not that it matters, but it's one of those games that might, I don't know, come back to make you regret, man, that was a loss. Kind of like the Nets game, where now that we know how bad the Nets are, to see them lose to that game. But they're at this point, they're 28-13, halfway through the season, on pace for 56 wins. That's spectacular.
It was pretty awesome. Yeah. It I don't feel bad about losing that Clippers game because they were playing outrageously well. And so it can, if someone's gonna beat you, they're playing like that. I think that's an okay game to lose. And but just interesting. And then to bounce back and play like this against the Jazz. We just don't have very many. We're just not putting up too many just absolute stinkers.
No, I saw some, and I can't remember who to give credit to, but I saw something after the Clippers game where I think it was the first double-digit loss that the Thunder had since October 29th.
That's awesome.
So they're almost always into it. And I think that you could feel a lot of because that Clippers game was on TNT, and Greg Anthony was the color commentator, and you could see I don't know, just the growing respect and admiration for the guys that are on this team. And because I see in the chat, particularly, a lot of people talking about J-Dub is not getting the proper love that he's getting. And I think there's fairness to that, because especially in this latest run where he's playing at this unbelievable level. But I do think it's just in due time, the more that this team gets visibility on national television, the more likely you're going to hear a lot of Dub talk. And you're already seeing it from people that are less than casual or more than casual fans. JJ Redick's a huge Dub fan. The guys are talking about at TNT. You're starting to see some of that really get into it. It's just going to take a while before it gets to the level where he may get that actual all-star pub. But he absolutely is good enough to get that.
Because what game was it that was on national TV tonight? It was the Raptors and the Bulls, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was terrible.
This game would have been awesome to be on TNT and for national audience. And you have to think that the NBA is kicking themselves for, underestimating Thunder and not, putting them on that. I just don't, because we don't have as many national games. I don't think people have caught on to how good we are, and just the wider J-Dub and people like that are playing very well that haven't got that exposure yet.
Yeah, and it's hard because it's as soon as I start talking like that, it feels like I'm, like I feel inferior, like a inferiority complex, and part of that is just, I want to make sure that the guys get the praise that they deserve in some sense, and that'll continue to happen. And I don't know what the NBA does, and I don't know how they shift some of this, but they have thrown out some rough games on national television. And there's a game like tonight where I don't know what it's hard because the Thunder game is scheduled at 8:00 Central, so it's 7:00 Eastern. It's 10 o'clock in the Pacific time. They would have to move probably that game to the 9:00 hour, the 9:30 hour. And then it's a lot of moving parts to kind of move that schedule, and not to, talk a lot about this. I know that there's also some of the stuff that's going on with the Warriors that have removed them from a few games that have been postponed, one of them being a Jazz game. So there's a lot of things that are going into it that I'm just wondering, like, I can't imagine how hard it is being a schedule maker and trying to kind of navigate all of that, especially when it comes to national TV coverage. And I know the Thunder do have a few coming up, that are going to be nationally covered, but man, the NBA should want to do everything they can to get this team in front of people, because they are one of the most enjoyable teams in the NBA. Tons of fun, beautiful brand of basketball, and it's in due time. It will really come. I just want to real quick is over the last 10 games for Jalen Williams, J-Dub, he is averaging 20 points per game over 10. He's shooting 72% from the free throw line, 56% from the 3-point line, and then 63% overall in the last 10.
He is balling.
And his efficiency is what's been so impressive from this team.
Yeah.
And it's what you're like, all right, well, higher volume, he's going to start missing more, but he's having more minutes, more time, and none of that has changed.
But when he's doing it, like in the fourth quarter, when he's doing it, it's like comes so easy to him. Like he is out there just doing it. And there was like a pick and roll that him and Chet had that blew my mind when it happened. It was just like they just already have that chemistry, but to J-Dub be able to do it, it's just like it comes so natural to him. Like he's not like killing himself to do it. It seems like, I'm sure but it's just so natural. It's great. I love watching him in the fourth quarters, especially. And then Josh gets fastest player to some record. He has a big pink jacket on in the press conference, but he has
to 1,000 assists.
I can rewind it because
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm assuming it's on Twitter somewhere if I look for it.
It was more impressive than that. The fastest Thunder player to 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 1,000 assists. Which
that's pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive. Yeah, because he gets, makes sense because those things, because he's, gets triple doubles all the time. So that does make sense. But but he has been playing very well too. And so it's just, but the team, I just love that our team is playing. It was like this time last year where it was like, hey, Thunder like actually pretty good. This like, beating expectations. It was like a little bit this time last year. And then just now, it's just been such a very fun season to already be so good.
Yeah, it's the perfect time to be a Thunder fan.
Yeah, this was like, I would say is the most fun this team has been. I know we've talked about like, is this team fun before with other teams? This team right now is fun. And it's the most fun it's been in a long time.
Yeah, and it's in theory, it's one of those things where it should hopefully just continue to improve. Like they're just getting started. This is Jalen Williams, J-Dub, and it's his second year. It's Chet's first year.
It's unbelievable.
Like even Shea is what I would say on the younger end of his prime, and so it's in theory, as a Thunder fan, I know that it's always, you don't really want to say anything because it can change so quickly. But hey, I'm gonna post something. If you're not following on social media, this is what J-Dub put on as his can you see that, Luke?
I can, yes.
J-Dub put this picture where he photoshopped himself. You'll have to correct me on the character.
I think who do you think it is? Because I know who it is.
It's not
Do you know
Qui-Gon, is it?
No, it's
not Qui-Gon. Mace Windu. Oh, it's Anakin
Skywalker. Yeah. I love J-Dub because he's very online and very funny. I think he's hilarious. But man,
yeah, that's the one where he's actually got like one of the eyes is starting to turn.
It's Anakin when he's turning
into Darth Vader.
Dark side, yeah. Yeah, but that I think he's funny. I think he's a great. He's my favorite player. But yeah, that fourth quarter was nuts. It's like it was just neither team was missing shots. It was so fun. And then, but Daigneault with a rare challenge that he shouldn't have done the wrong way. Like
that was wild.
Often,
like the challenge was successful, but it actually resulted in the Jazz getting the ball.
Yeah, so it's like what? Don't see him do that very often.
It's hard. It's like you're watching that, and there's like it looked like Laurie. It was off of Markkanen to me, but you're like, I don't know. There's this part of you where you're watching it, and you're like, how can they make a conclusive decision that it was off of Kenrich Williams? In that case, if it was anything, then you should say there's still not conclusive evidence to say it was off of this team or this team. So we'll continue with the dead ball. Challenge is unsuccessful. But the fact that it not only was successful, but it's successful in the opposite direction was incredibly shocking. And man, I'll tell you, you could feel. I thought Mark was more animated in this game. I know he can get frustrated. He can make a lot. Like he can get mad and he says some stuff, but especially early on when they tried to challenge, I think it was Chet went up for a block, and I think it was Agbaji was trying to. I probably butchered that name, but he kind of pushed off, which is actually something that Dub got called for, or somebody got called for in the game before. And as he pushed off, he made the bucket or got fouled, and they were trying to challenge, but it went too quickly. They got to the free throw line, and Daigneault was trying to get the timeout, but the referees weren't paying attention to him, and so Daigneault loses his mind in the first half, and he doesn't stop giving it to him until he finally gets a technical, and then as soon as he gets technical, he just walks away. So
yeah, I was not aware that the Jazz's head coach was so young.
Yeah, Will Hardy.
Yeah, it looks he's like should be coaching like an intramural team in a college because he's young and seems. I'm sure him and Daigneault are close, but Daigneault seems older than his age.
Yeah, the fact that Daigneault is 4 years younger than me is just shocking to me.
I think he's my age. Isn't he 30? Isn't he 37?
38, I think.
37. That's wild.
Yeah, I know. It really is insane. Like, it's still wanted to be the funniest storyline to me is if Daigneault gets coach of the West and goes in and LeBron's older than him, which I know is probably, if we go back in our history, is not the first time that's ever happened, but it'd be feels unique to me.
That does. That's hilarious. Because I could see it happening. Interesting. But
hey, let's just roll through some Twitter questions. I want to take a quick break and see if we can.
But I have a deep dive real quick.
Oh, hit it!
You're on Twitter, right?
Yeah, sometimes.
I think that have you seen stuff for that new TED TV show?
Not really.
I've seen a lot of it, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, this is turns out this show's actually really good." And like, I think that show or Peacock or whatever is paying people to tweet about it because I see a lot of people that are like, "Oh my gosh, this is so funny," and they'll post a clip from it, and it's like, "You have to see this," and you post, and like, the clip is not that funny. And so I think they're paying people to do that. And it's just like they're trying to, build like whatever, that's like I think they put a lot of money into that for their advertising.
Yeah, kind of
Like
what would you call that? Not ground level, but
like a guerrilla marketing.
yeah.
Paying people to do it. I think that's what like grassroots trying to create a grassroots movement. But it's like the clips I've seen, like there's hardly any jokes in the thing. They're like, "This is the funniest show." Turns out this show's actually really funny. It's like this has like maybe one joke in it, and it's like this is. So I think they're paying people to do it. That's my. It's the first time I've been able to talk about that. I haven't had anyone be able to tell it. Yeah.
So Luke, I'm going to put it up here in the chat, man, from the chat. Matt A, roommate, watches that TED show and he says it's like in real life Family Guy.
Huh.
So pretty funny.
Yeah, but
because I'm assuming it's Seth MacFarlane's doing the voice of Ted still, and then I don't know. I'm assuming they couldn't pull Mark Wahlberg in for this one.
Well, it's a prequel, so it's like
okay.
So like the guy who has made Ted become alive is in like high school, so it's a prequel. So it takes place.
It's a real origin story.
It's kind of an origins. No, it's not an origin. It's not an origin story, but it's like just their early years. So yeah, but will I watch it? Maybe.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I feel like the only way you can truly give us a take on it is to maybe give it a watch.
Yeah, I'll watch it this next week instead of Thunder Games, and I'll talk about it all next pod. How about that?
Perfect. L-Man's Deep Dive is just his review of the new TED show.
All the TEDs. I don't even know if they're doing it they're releasing one episode at a time and they just put them all on. I don't know how they're even releasing it. I know nothing about it beyond that. I think
what's the same
tweet about it.
What do you think about, like, what's your honest feeling when you turn on like Max and True Detective comes out one at a time?
I like it because I like the old True Detectives. I really liked that. I used to really like when HBO was an entity that existed, and like their HBO Sunday nights were really good. I liked sitting down and like watching all my HBO shows. So I liked it. It was kind of like Appointment, the last of Appointment, like TV.
You don't get annoyed by the fact that you have to wait now that you can binge watch an entire season in one sitting?
No, because now, like, if they dumped it all on one, then it's bad. Like Disney Plus just put out their new like Echo show, which is a Marvel it's a character from Hawkeye and it's like there's 5 episodes and they released them all like January 1st, and it's like, well, this has to be really bad. And I've heard it's terrible. So
yeah,
that they're dumping all at once and making a big deal to like grow naturally. It's like it's bad.
Disney is struggling.
Yeah, it's real. Like one, it's so strange to like that they've just like totally ruined Star Wars in like record time. It's like I could talk about it a lot, and I think they're kind of trying to do the same. Like they're kind of ruining Marvel real quick with just shoddy, like bad stuff. Like they just put out all the Marvel stuff, like all the Disney Plus shows have devalued like that brand and those movies so badly. I think that they have a huge problem on how to fix it. And I think they've completely ruined Star Wars. Andor was good, but and so I don't know. I could talk about it a lot, but it's wild how fast they've crapped. Like George Lucas Star Wars was like my favorite thing growing up. The first 3 movies, great. And George Lucas made 3 like bad movies, and those movies compared to what they're putting out now for Star Wars look like great. People like fondly remember them in a way that I do not think people are going to be like, oh yeah, season 3 of The Mandalorian. Oh my gosh, I was raised on season 3 of The Mandalorian. They're not going to do that. It's bad. It's cheap. It's bad writing. It's cheap. It's kind of just corny, I think. And those 3 prequel movies were not good at the time, but people look back and like love them. You know.
I think the only people that love them are ironically talking about them.
No, but no, because I think it's one point, yes, it was that, but it's like anything. If you are ironically liking something, you at some point just turn around to just honestly liking it. I think. Like that's how I got into wrestling, professional wrestling. At the beginning, I would go and watch it with my friends ironically and make fun of it. And then pretty soon I was watching Raw every single week by myself because I liked it. So I think like, yes, it was ironic. Oh, haha, they're so bad. They're funny. But now it's just like, no, people just like them because they're like, they had like a huge cultural
Jar Jar Binks.
Well, I think they just had a cultural imprint in a way that stuff doesn't now, you know? Like I saw each one of those movies at midnight and, you know, that's just what I did. And I think a lot of people did. And they were like a cultural moment, I thought, in the way that like now just stuff can't be in the same way, I think.
Yeah.
You were trying to get to Twitter.
That was
10 or 15
you
minutes.
You got 2 deep dives back to back. So let's take a quick break. We'll come back with some Twitter questions. All right, and we're back. Our first question is from @Malden or Maul Den. Do you think there is a legitimate interest from the Oklahoma City Thunder in drafting J-Dub's brother? So if you're unaware, Cody Williams, Jalen Williams' younger brother, is a 6'8" power forward or small forward probably for Colorado, the Buffaloes. And so he is highly recruited. I think most mocks have him going anywhere between 5 and 12. And the Thunder have obviously seen him, are paying attention to him, and are aware of him. I don't know it's a priority. I'm not the draft guy. That's obviously Andrew McKelly, and obviously they will do a ton of coverage of these guys. But if he fits the mold, you can assume as a person that he's got a lot of similarities to J-Dub, but I couldn't tell you anything about his skills on the basketball court. I know there's some that are even listening now that have more kind of an insight to him and what he brings. But I mean, sure. Yeah. I think the Thunder would be interested in him.
Yeah. I don't know. Didn't the Thunder bring in Kevin Durant's brother for one training camp?
This is light years different. Years different.
Oh, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know if that'd be cool. Like maybe it would be cool, but like it's gonna be really hard because J-Dub is so good, and if his brother's not, it's gonna be like I think I wouldn't want it for him almost because it's like such high expectation because you have one brother so good. I know nothing about this person, so I don't know. Maybe he's phenomenal, but
yeah. Well, so it was Tony Durant, and Tony played on their, I think it was a summer league team, and he was not a very good basketball player.
Yes.
Does not have. Am I frozen?
No, I don't think so.
But Tony didn't have the body that NBA basketball player does, and Cody is like legitimate, like unanimous elite level guy, one and done kind of thing. And so he's they wouldn't just draft him for the fact that he is related to J-Dub. The Tony Durant thing was wild. All right. The next question comes from @Alex_BowlerJack, who asks a question: what is the worst dessert?
The worst dessert. Let me think. I'm really not a huge fan of pie. I'm really not. I don't love pie. I know you're a pie guy. You like pie.
That's me, man.
I know. I'm just not 100% in on pie. But there's probably something worse.
What do you got? Pie, cakes, cookies.
I don't see cookies as it. Cookie is a snack. Cookie is not a dessert.
So it's
Cake.
really just pies and cakes.
Pies and cakes, but also like a tiramisu, like a sorbet ice cream after a True Samurai.
Ooh, ice cream. Ice cream's a good one.
Shoguns.
So is there a specific pie you don't like?
I do sometimes have
fruitcake.
But fruitcake would be really bad. I don't even think I ever had it because it sounds so gross. But if I'm having pie, I'm having a very skinny piece. I'm not cutting myself a big fat piece of pie. Like pumpkin pie, I'm not wild about. That's what I'd say.
We got some dark chocolate out here. We've got some that's about it. Fruitcake, snow cones. Oh yeah, snow cones. Shaved ice.
Snow cone is a treat. It's not a dessert in my mind. I would never after a meal go, I need a snow cone.
I guess the question is, what's the worst sweet? Then you could say those things.
Eat.
Yeah, like sweet thing, sweet treat.
Sweet treat. I just think that's different. I think that's a different question. But I don't know, like a bad candy bar, like $100 grand or an almond joy.
So good. All right, this is obviously controversial. So next question is from @etuck77. I'm someone who paid attention but is a bit too young to remember much about James Harden in Oklahoma City. Could you talk about how good he was and if you think J-Dub is on that level or could get there?
Well, here's what I remember. He was very good, except in the playoffs. In the playoffs, he was crapping the bed and was kind of a non-entity. Would you agree with that?
It was really just the finals. He was not great in the finals, but he was huge against the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals.
I guess it's like that was the last series and he was not good. And we did not win it. And so that's the last thing I remember really, was that he was not very good. And
so Harden, the thing that was Harden was a great basketball player. And the thing that was so special about Harden, and I'm going to try to articulate this, and I'm not sure it's going to come out well, but if you weren't aware, is the Thunder team from that first kind of iteration and the Oklahoma City Thunder fan base, we kind of were growing all together. And there was all sorts of different, like social media was really, like Twitter was just starting to get popular and they were very much on it. And so you would see different things and, the Burlington's videos. So at that point, like James Harden, it wasn't just his skill on the court, which was special. Him and Nick Collison had an incredible two-person game. James was like, he's James Harden. Like he had a different way of playing basketball. It was fun to watch. He was just a killer player in so many ways. But the thing that about James Harden that it doesn't feel like we're quite there with this new team is it was the cultural side of it, like his beard. Like there were buildings that had beards like decorated on them, and obviously had the Daily Thunder train leaf shirt that had the big beard on it, and it was like it was all the other stuff around James that also made him so special. And I'll never forget, man. I was actually at the OU Notre Dame game. Like I said, Twitter was really early, and I don't even know if I got the tweet or if I just heard like somebody talking about it and figured out what was going on, man. That was a hard night. And I remember even the night that he was traded, just thinking, like hearing about the return. I'm like, I like Kevin Martin, and he's been a Thunder killer, and maybe the idea of Jeremy Lamb is something and future picks, but it hurt. That was a bad
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, it was, and it sucked. It sucked so much about after that trade because it was so much like I feel like Bill Simmons was talking about it for like 5 or 7 years after that. But the cool thing about that time, like specifically with how new like Twitter was, I remember at that time I think I was in law school. My brother was in high school, but was 16 or 17, so could drive, and they like James Harden would just be like, "I'm bored. I think I'm gonna go play laser tag," and my brother and his friends would be like, "Hey, we gotta go play laser tag," and would go to like the only laser tag place in Oklahoma City, and James Harden would be there, and he has like pictures of him and his friends playing like after the match, having played like 4 games of laser tag against James Harden and his friends. And they'd be like, "Hey," like James Harden would be like, "Oh, I'm bored. I'm going to go to the mall." And my brother would just go to the mall and see him, Russ or KD there. And it was pretty cool because they seemed, now these are like famous people that are living like famous people lives, but then it was just like they're young, they're in Oklahoma City, there's nothing to do. We don't have a media system that's like New York or California that's going to follow them everywhere. Like they're just like out living their lives and just doing their thing, and so it seemed like the only thing they had to do was hang out with each other and just like hang out, because that's all they had. They were at that time, even in Oklahoma City, Thunder, just haven't gotten there. Like Bricktown wasn't like what it is now and has developed, didn't have as many places to go. Literally at that time, there's like one bar to go to, and that was really it. And so there was nothing to do, and so those guys all just hung out together, and so it was really cool. And yeah, it was just like stuff, and people were like just starting to latch on to like Harden as like a personality, and like he was everywhere. He was a huge part of the team's advertising and just businesses growing onto him. And then that next year he was gone. It was like, it just feels like that was such.
It was just a miss. It was just a miss.
It was.
I think if you compare him to Dub, which is the easy thing to do in a lot of ways, right? Just because they kind of maybe are the third piece, but I would actually say Dub may be the second piece, especially the way he's playing right now. But I think and this is a bold, like way prisoner of the moment take, but I think there's no reason to assume that Dub can't get to a elite level like James Harden did. James Harden was an MVP, potentially an almost a 2-time MVP, Hall of Famer. I get all of those things that make you think, well, that's kind of a hot take. But the things I'm watching Dub do as a second-year player are incredibly impressive, and feel very similar to some of the way that we saw James Harden excel in his second year as well.
I think there are a lot of teams right now that see J-Dub and be like, we could bring him to our team and make him the focus of our offense if we wanted to. They totally could. The thing that I think the Thunder have learned from James Harden as compared to J-Dub now is at Harden, they were forcing him into that 6th man role in a way that I think that they should not have. They should have had him not do that and, start and play as much as, make that work. In a way that now they're just saying, J-Dub's, the third best player on our team, or, some nights the second, some nights the first. He's in the starting lineup where they can coexist like this. I think what helps that is Shea playing with Schroeder and Chris Paul that one year to learn how to really spread playmaking and ball handling amongst and share in that way. And so it helps him get J-Dub involved, and it's not like my turn, your turn, like it was with KD and Russ. And so I think it really helps, and that there's like no, our best players, they're playing together. We're going to make it work. Our offense is going to be, it's going to be much more of an offense and not just, hero ball.
Yeah, and some of that is not even necessary. Obviously, you have to have the right players to do stuff like that, but some of that is also just the brand of basketball that this team likes to play. Like tonight, they ended up having 36 assists, but I think 20. Gosh, they had like 20 some odd, 24 in the first half of tonight's game, and they passed the ball really well. They're very unselfish, but at the same time, like we say that. Shea is still averaging a ridiculous amount of points, has as many 30-point games this year as anybody in the league. Like, so it's not that he's not getting his. It's just the truth that the way they play the ball play the game is the ball moves around. I mean, and they're scoring a ton of points, 134. They're in top 5, 6 in offensive rating every single, game. They're playing elite level of offense, it feels like. So much so that when they aren't, you feel like something's broken. Like, oh God, we got to sit everybody and all that stuff. But you just watch this team play, and that's why it makes it to where you hope Dub will feel, like, hey, I can be here and be successful, both individually, but also collectively as a team. And it would be something that sustains him, to stay. Because you're right. There's a lot of teams out there that would love to have Dub as their primary guy.
Yeah, it's I think so too. It's just so interesting because like the personality of these guys is so different than like those KD Russ times. And probably it's different just because I'm now so much older than them. I'm 15 years older than the guys that we're talking about now. And when it was Russ and KD, like I was so much closer to their age, and like that time when KD went down to OSU and played intramural football and like stuff like that. So I'm sure people that are younger, maybe that are listening to us, are like hear about them more and like maybe see them out more or like know people that they're hanging out with. But now it just seems like their personalities are just so different, and they just seem, I don't know what it is, but less like more focused on basketball. It seems like.
And they feel a little they're not as close. Like not together, but as far as like the proximity of the fan to the team feels a little more like a professional sports team versus a group of guys that play professional sports that are in your city.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it feels like those guys were, because of their less accessible, maybe is what it is. But part of that might just be the fact that we are older, like.
Yeah, that's
I'm
probably
15 years older than someone.
I think that's where I'm leaning to. Like they're 20 and 21 and now I'm 37. That's probably it.
Yeah.
Because I remember being like, I remember being like 21 or like 22, and I saw like one of my friend's older brothers out at the bar who was like 29. And I was like, what is he doing here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he needs to go home. He is too old to be out at the bar. And
well, it's the same thing like when you had your teachers and they were, mid to late 20s, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're so old. Yes. And then you like graduate high school and you're like, oh, you're like 3 years older than me now, like.
Yes. Yes. That is mind blowing. So yeah, it's probably that.
All right, so I'm gonna ask a few more questions about things that are non-basketball related. This is about the maximum level of content you're going to get from the two of us tonight. And the first one is, Luke, what is the spiciest food you've ever eaten? This is from @the IHWO.
Man, I
Twice God.
I don't handle spice just really well. I get sweaty, and so spiciest thing I've ever eaten. Like I would never, like those one chip challenge things. I would never, ever, ever do that. Spiciest things. When I was little, I had like my cousin brought like these chips that he loved from Texas that were like so spicy. And I think it was probably that. It was these, and the only way like to avoid the spice was to eat more of the chips. I felt like I was very little, and it was probably that. But like spicy, warheads are sour. That's a different. So
Yeah.
it's not spicy. Probably those just as the super spicy chip. But no. Oh, okay. No, I haven't. It was before the John Mayer concert in the last one he went down in Dallas. I met my friend before and his wife, and they were at a Mexican restaurant, and he had this like thing of like chips and salsa, and it had like one pepper in it, and I was like, I'm gonna eat this, and I ate the one pepper, and it nearly killed me. I almost threw up. It was that.
So I like spicy food, and I get pad thai from a place here in Edmond called Thai Delight. It's really good. And I asked for their top spice, 4 or 5 stars, whatever the top is. And most of the time, like if I'm eating in the restaurant, I can handle it. This one was, I had to stop eating and put it up.
Yeah, I had
and then the next
tonight. You know what my level was?
0. And then the other thing is we always have a chili cook-off at our church, and we do for the last couple of years we've done promotional videos by using the hot ones, the hot ones that YouTube guest show. Yes. So I have like the whole line of those, like and I had the bomb, which is that one towards the end, the bomb. It's the worst tasting thing I've ever had, and it was absolute fire. And so that's probably the spiciest 2 things I've had.
That's terrible. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty. Actually, it's a lot of fun. All right, Luke, any other closing thoughts on the Oklahoma City Thunder, as once again they got a great victory on the road tonight, beating the Utah Jazz 134-129. And then obviously this upcoming weekend on Saturday, they play the Minnesota Timberwolves at 7 o'clock in Minnesota. Then they get a couple-day break, which in this little run feels substantial. So they get Sunday, Monday back off here, and then they play against the Blazers at home on Tuesday the 23rd, which might feel a little bit like an off game. Like, I would not be sad if they just said, Shea, after the Wolves game, we're going to let you sit these next 3. So then he could get, it's the Blazers and the Spurs back to back. So Wednesday night next week, they play the Spurs.
Yeah, I don't have a final thought. Are you miffed and are you piffed?
I am a little miffed and piffed. My son has tested positive for COVID on Monday.
Oh.
And so we had to isolate him, and we've been doing this we stay downstairs and he's upstairs, and it's just the limbo, man. If it's we've been waiting, and now I think we're clear enough to where it's I feel pretty confident. And so, but at the same time, it's been the freaking coldest weather, and now it's so stupid windy. And
are you dripping your faucets?
Yeah, I'm just ready for the spring. I'm ready for spring and summer.
This time last year is when my the fire suppression system above my unit, in the unit above my unit, burst, and so it just inundated me with water about a year ago. And so we're dripping over here, but and so we're about to get through it without any bursts in my building, which is good. So I'm grateful and blessed for that because it sucked last year.
We got a question in the chat before you finish with your Miffed and Pew. This is from Davy Boy 97. He's from Melbourne, and is it Melbourne? And he's coming.
I don't know.
Okay, and he's coming down from Oklahoma City in March to watch a couple of games. Any suggestion on what else to do while he is down here? So what do you like if you're bringing somebody into town? Number one, we've got great restaurants, so go eat some fun places.
I would say to go would be like Ishans. Would be a fried chicken place that's kind of outside of Oklahoma City. It's north.
Okarche,
and it's about 30-45 minute drive. just
Spelt EIEISCHEN''S.
just a unique place that is, people travel from Oklahoma City to go there and make a big event out of it, and just a unique place that kind of an out of the way. Like I don't think we've ever told people to go there. Alex, last time he was in town, I know he went, and just an interesting place and good, a little out of the way place that like local people would know, but not necessarily say you should go there. I think that is a good idea.
Yeah, Lawrence Field mentioned the butcher shop in Wellston. That's a barbecue place. That's pretty good. They have kind of unique hours, so look for that. And then as far as things to see and do, if it's a nice day, Scissortail Park's kind of fun if you want to walk around a little bit. It's called Social Capital. It's a tap house that's just to the west of it. It's pretty neat. Burger place called Spark. Omni Hotel has a couple restaurants in different places right there. It's a pretty neat little spot to go. I think the Alfred P. Murrah bombing memorial and museum if you want to know Oklahoma City, that's an important place to go.
Yeah, if you were coming from outside of the country to come, I think that would be an interesting place to go. That's the place that they have all the Thunder players, like when they it's the first thing that they do is they go and tour that just to kind of get an idea of the history of the city and how far we've come. And I myself have never been to it, but I would, if you're coming from, because I could go at any time, so I never go. But if you're coming in, it would be a cool thing to see, just to kind of get that perspective.
There's also the Western Heritage Museum, what we used to call the National Cowboy Hall of Fame, and it feels very like coming from Australia. You're going to come in and you're going to be like, is this like, we aren't as country and Western as that feels like, but it's still a pretty neat museum worth going to check out.
Yes, that's where I took the bar exam, so I have just horrific memories of that place. But without having that baggage, I think you'd really enjoy it. And then it's March, so Whitewater Bay and Frontier City will both be closed.
Have you been to Factory Obscura, the Flaming Lips place?
I have not, but I've seen it, and it is a place I would tell a certain type of person to go. Interesting if it looks like kind of like those Vegas places that are like kind of looks like you need to be doing drugs to really appreciate them.
Yeah, just gotta say it.
I would tell a certain type of person to go there. I myself have also never been there.
Me neither. There's good breweries all over town.
Go and eat. Try to eat it if you're looking for like a nicer time to have a dinner. Go to Vast, maybe. It's in the tallest building downtown, and you get just really cool views of.
You also got to hit up either Cattleman's, Cattleman's is the steakhouse that's kind of like famous, but it's not the best.
Yeah,
the Ranch Steakhouse, Mahogany. Cattleman's going to be a little more affordable, but that's the kind of suggestions I would say, just because it feels like Oklahoma. So you'll enjoy it.
Go to the Plaza District just to kind of see that they have an arcade.
Paseo as well.
Yeah, Paseo, and they Plaza has like an arcade bar that's I think called Up Down. They have a bunch of bars there, a bunch of little local shops. That's where the Mule is, and the Press that we talk about a lot. That have Mule is grilled cheese sandwiches, and the Press is more like just general food.
Comfort food, yeah.
And it's both are very good places to go. I think that's what I tell people to do. Check that out. It's walkable. That's walkable. Kind of those two places are probably as walkable as Oklahoma City gets.
Yeah.
That's
all right, Luke. Are you miffed or you peeved?
No, I'm not. I'm G&B'd because none of my pipes have burst.
Nice. Somebody just mentioned, John Williams mentioned I'm going to butcher the name, Mar de Lao, which is down in the Plaza. It has excellent Laotian food. And I've heard like so many people mention that.
I have heard.
I haven't been either.
I've heard it's very good. But I have not been either. But I don't really know what Laotian food is, but I want to try it.
I've heard it's awesome. You should try it. I'm assuming
Yeah.
it's maybe got some heat to it.
Also,
Maybe.
Melbourne, Australia.
I think it's Melbourne.
Melbourne. I don't know, but go to go like down to Norman and walk around OU's campus. See what OU's like. Go if you want to up to Stillwater and see Stillwater, like OSU's campus. I think those campuses are nice and impressive and cool to walk around if you've never seen them before. I think that would be something to do, don't you?
Yeah, be fine, I guess. I don't know.
Melbourne.
Okay. All right, friends. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. And Andrew will be back on Monday with Michele and back to your regularly scheduled programming next week. We'll be back with FryPod as usual. Thanks for sticking with us as the L-Man and I. Probably a one and done opportunity.
Love this. It was great.
But we're going to go a different direction for our next pod. We're going to talk more pop culture and Star Wars, Marvel. I got you. It's been a whole night.
Amen, brother. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Yep. See you guys.